All right, so we are dividing.
And so, will we get like radicals or anything just the rest of this year?
Trying to think what comes next. We'll go back to factoring. Yeah. And really, we have this week, which we're going to take up with dividing. We go back to factoring, and then we're going to start reviewing for the exam. And so we do go back. Obviously, we cover radicals, but it's stuff that we've done before, just reviewing. Yep.
What do we do next week? Because I won't be here all week next week.
4 weeks.
Where are you going?
Florida.
We have spring break. We have summer coming up. We'll be factoring. We'll have a quiz. We'll be doing that kind of stuff.
Do we have any more big tests?
We are probably not going to have another chapter test. We have a quiz on Monday over dividing polynomials. And we'll probably have another quiz, but we won't have another chapter test, and we'll have an exam. All right, so let's talk about dividing. So I'm going to put the 4 out in front. Let me change colors. And then we put this number underneath the division sign. And so we say, okay, how many times does 4 go into 6?
Once.
So we put a 1 up here. What do I do with the 1 and the 4?
You multiply them?
Multiply them, and I put it under here. What do I do with the 6 and the 4?
Subtract.
Okay, so it's really important I'm understanding the process, because this process is going to apply to polynomials, to equations. So I'm going to subtract those. I get 2. What do I do next?
Drop down the 4.
Bring down the next digit. So now I have 24. And I repeat the process. It's a very repetitive process. And that's going to be key in the next couple days. It's going to be tricky at first when we start bringing in variables, but we have to hang in there, because once we get it, once it clicks, it's just repetitive. It's the same thing over and over again. So it's going to take a little while, but it is going to click. It will eventually click, I promise, but you have to be persistent. All right, so how many times does 4 go into 24?
6.
So I put a 6 up here. 6 times 4 is 24. What do I do with these two things? Subtract. Well, this is a little different. You get 0, but you just stay with the process. You bring down the 5. How many times does 4 go into 5?
1.
So you put a 1 up here. 1 times 4, 4. Subtract 1. Bring down the next digit, 18. How many times does 4 go into 18?
4.
So I put a 4 up here. 4 times 4, 16. Subtract 2. There's nothing else to bring down, so this 2 was our remainder. And what did we do with our remainder? Because we wrote it.
2 over 4.
Yeah, we wrote it as a fraction, and good. We reduced on this one. And so we reduced that to 1/2. And just in parentheses, I'm going to put 2 over 4. We won't have to do any reducing when we have polynomials. So that is some good news.
This just takes up so much space on my
It will. Some good news is we won't have very many problems. You only have 3 problems tonight.
Cool.
So let's see what this looks like. So go ahead and write it down like this first. X squared minus 4x plus 6 divided by x plus 2. So we want to know what it looks like before we set it up into long division format. X squared minus 4x plus 6 divided by x plus 2. This part goes outside. So I put x plus 2. Remember, you're going to need some room to write above. Well, I said that soon enough. And then this part goes inside the division symbol. So x squared minus 4x plus 6. Hang in there. Be persistent. You'll get the hang of it. It is hard to figure out what goes up here. That is a tricky part. Well, I can't just jump in and say, okay, x plus 2 goes into that whole thing. So I take a little chunk at a time. I take the x and I take the x squared. And the easiest way I have found for people to think about it is to go off to the side and to divide those two off to the side. to take the inside one over the outside one. So then we're just using properties of exponents. So when I do x squared over x, I subtract the exponents. What's left?
1.
X to the first, right? Or just x. That's what goes up here. We'll see more examples of that as we go on. Well, think about what happens when we get something up here. When I had one of these numbers up here, I would multiply, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply. And when I multiply, I have to distribute. So I'm going to multiply to both of these things. And it's going to come underneath. I know, it's overwhelming at first. I'm going to do x times x, x squared. I'm going to do x times 2 plus 2x. That was just how I did 1 times 4 got me 4. Well, what did I do with the 6 and the 4? Subtracted. So what I have to do is I have to take this and I have to subtract. But if I have to subtract this whole thing, I have to take x squared minus 4x and I have to subtract x squared plus 2x. What do I have to do with that subtraction symbol? I have to distribute. So I don't want to have to rewrite that every single time. So I have to distribute this. That's going to make this negative. What's going to happen here? It's going to make it negative. So it really just changes the sign. So I'm going to change that to negative. And I'm going to change that to negative. I personally like to circle the signs so they stand out a little bit to me. And it helps me remember that I changed them. If it helps you to write your steps, we're going to subtract. Or we're going to change the signs. So x squared minus x squared, they cancel. Negative 4x minus 2x minus 6x. What do you think I have to do next? Bring down the 6. So it's plus 6. That is one rotation through all the steps. If I can get one rotation down, I just have to do that over and over and over again.
What do you put up there then?
What do I put up where?
Above it.
Here?
And X, yeah.
I got to keep going. So I've only done one rotation through. I got to repeat the process. So it's like when I was back here, I did the 4. Now I'm down to 24, and I got to say, okay, 4 goes into 24. Well, I got to repeat the, wrong way. I got to repeat the process. Okay, so I'm going to keep going, but it's a lot for us to sink in, so I'm trying not to go too fast. Abby, stay with me. It's hard for it to sink in if we have our eyes closed or our heads down. Right, Madison?
My eyes are open and my head's up.
Well, your eyes were closed briefly.
I blinked.
Oh, it was a long blink. All right, so now, remember how I took the x squared and the x?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to take this first term, and I'm going to go back to that x. So I'm going to take negative 6x, and I'm going to take x, and I'm going to divide those. Well, what do I get when I divide those?
6.
Negative 6. That goes up here. Minus 6. What did I do with the thing that was up top?
You distribute.
Good job. So I'm going to take the negative 6, and I'm going to distribute to each of those. All right. All right. Negative 6 times x. Negative 6x. Negative 6 times 2. Negative 12.
Okay, so then you just make them both plus.
So now I change the signs because I'm subtracting. So I change the sign. I like to circle it. You don't have to. I change the sign. All right, let's see what happens. The negative 6x cancel out. 6 and 12, that gives me 18. Anything else to bring down? No. So what do you think this 18 is?
The remainder.
That's our remainder.
18 over x plus 2.
Good. Here's the other thing about the remainder that's different than numbers though. When I have a polynomial, I can't just throw 18 over x plus 2 up here just randomly. We're always going to add a remainder in there. And so I'll jot that down. But first let me put this. So we're going to put plus 18 over x plus 2. So we always add the remainder. And it's as a fraction. As I've said, this is very, very repetitive. So guess what? It's just going to take practice, practice, practice. Some of us, I can tell, it's just right there. It's almost clicking if it hasn't clicked. Some of us, it's like, I have no idea what's going on. But we can't give up. This is just one problem. We're going to spend 3 days on this. So let's do some more. Yeah.
I'll give
When-
you my little tip.
When you come back. All right, next one. X minus 5, and then it's going to divide, so I already set it up for us. It's going to divide x squared plus 10x minus 9. Ideally, I want to do 2. We've got about 10 minutes left. X minus 5, and it's going to divide x squared plus 10x minus 9. All right, so again, getting the number up here, or the term up here, some of the hard parts to start with. I'm going to take the first term and the first term, and I'm going to divide those. Eventually, you may not have to write it off to the side, but I know from past experience, a lot of people find that helpful. So if I take x squared and I divide by x, what's left? X. That's what goes up here. A lot of times it will be, but as these get harder, it won't be. It might be 3x, it might be x squared. But right now, yes, they're starting off and it's going to be x. Once I figure out what this is, what do I do with whatever thing I've ended up with? I multiply to both of these and I distribute. So x times x is x squared.
Can we, what if we just go ahead and
If you want to change the signs as you go.
Yeah.
If you want to change the signs as you go, I'll have no idea. I don't care. Some people like to do that. That's fine with me. As long as you change the signs at some point, because after you get the hang of this, that's the thing that I'll see mistakes on. As we know, probably 90% of our math mistakes are signs. I don't care when you change them as long as you remember to change them.
Wait, so the first x squared on the bottom, the red one?
Yep.
Would that be negative?
So I haven't changed mine yet. So yes, that's my next step, is I need to change the signs of both of these. So before I combine the terms, it's going to be negative x squared and positive 5x.
Do we change the signs because of division? Or
We
or just
change the
subtract?
signs because I'm subtracting this whole thing.
Okay.
That's why the signs get changed. Are you getting it cleared up? Can I answer something? I can tell you're asking it about the question. Are you getting it cleared up or?
Yeah, just because I'm already at where I have, it's like 15 minutes.
Okay, so let me get caught up. Here's another thing to help. So when we're dividing, are we trying to make this thing bigger or smaller? Smaller, right? So we know that about division. When you're dividing and you're doing this step, this term, whatever that first term is, should cancel out. So x squared and negative x squared, they cancel out. So I've got 10x and 5x, that is 15x. So that's good, we should get there. What do I do next? Not yet. We gotta bring down the negative 9, and maybe you already had that. So then what do you wanna do, Owen? Yeah, good. So we're gonna have 15x, we're gonna take that first term, divide by x.
And then there's cancel.
So the x's cancel and it will be 15. Now, I can't just write 15, so it's positive. Someone let Madison back in, please. So it's plus 15. Thanks.
This is where I got lost. I couldn't figure out what to do.
Okay.
I don't understand that whole step. I don't know what.
How I got the 15?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
10 plus 5.
see it. I just.
So I take the first term and the first term and I divide those off to the side.
Right.
Okay, and then what do? You put
Hang
down
on a
15.
second, Logan. Hang on a second.
I'm just trying to figure out why it's the 15. Like, I don't know what I'm not understanding.
So if I go back to this problem, I was always looking at like this number or this number, and I was trying to divide it by that out front number, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same idea. I'm taking whatever I'm left with. I'm taking little chunks at a time. That's what long division does, is it takes little chunks at a time. So I'm taking the 15x and I'm trying to divide it by that. If this has now been, if it was down to 18x, I'd try and divide it by that. I'm breaking it up into the little chunk.
Okay. Maybe I'm being weird about it. I just didn't understand why the 15 was what we moved up to the top.
Whenever I divide that, so like when I did 24 divided by 4, it's 6. That's what goes up at the top.
Okay.
When I did 18 divided by 4 was 4. That went up at the top.
Okay, yeah.
We'll come back to that question because I can tell it's not totally answered for you. All right, Logan, what were you going to say? Do you remember?
Yeah, now what do you put? You just put the 15.
That's what it is.
So I have the 15. Whenever I have a number at the top, what do I do with it?
You see how many times it goes in?
Distribute it.
Distribute. Once I have a number at the top, I got to distribute.
Oh,
Numbers
yeah.
at the top get distributed. So 15 times x, 15x. 15 times negative 5, negative 75. Now what?
Now you change the sign.
Change the signs. See, it's very repetitive. The x's cancel. Negative 9 and 75, 66.
That's where I got.
That's our remainder.
Plus 66
So
over
yeah, plus
x minus
66.
5.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's see if we can knock one out really quick. X plus 4 over x squared plus 6/8 plus 8. I'm going to go kind of quick just so we can maybe take a picture of it at the end if we need to. I'm going to take x squared and x. I'm going to divide them. What's x squared divided by x? X. I've got something up top. When I have something up top, I distribute. X squared plus 4x. Change the signs. X squareds cancel. 2x. Bring down the next term. I know we're running short on time, so I'm going kind of fast. So now I'm going to take 2x divided by x. First term and first term. The x's cancel. Plus 2. Number up top, so I distribute 2x plus 8. I can do this real quick. Change the signs. Ooh, this one's kind of different because what happens? They both cancel. The remainder's 0. It went evenly. We just circle x plus 2. Your homework's page 247, 3 through 5. Just those 3 problems. You're welcome to take a picture of that. Try your best.